From Nutrien Ag Solutions, I'm Senior Atmospheric Scientist Andrew Pritchard with your weather story for Monday, December 9th, 2024. A couple of weather issues to talk about, a critical weather safety issue to talk about in Southern California. We have a rare, particularly dangerous situation, red flag warning. That PDS, that is the rare part of this red flag warning in there. We're expecting extreme and life-threatening fire behavior here. Wind gusts 50 to 80 miles per hour associated with the Santa Ana wind event across Southern California. Low relative humidity in the 5 to 15% range, and then of course mild dry conditions in place as well. So we'll talk more about that in a moment. Some of the facilities actually impacted here, but today through Wednesday, dangerous fire weather conditions across Southern California. We want to be aware of that. We'll also look for the chance for maybe a couple of strong storms, more likely talking about some training thunderstorms, locally heavy rainfall in a corridor from the Gulf Coast, parts of southern Louisiana up through the mid-Atlantic here, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rainfall possible in about a 1 to 200 mile wide corridor there across the southeast, and then additional corridors of snow this coming next couple of days early this week. A couple of those associated with flurries, that cold air, windblown light snow across the northern plains, parts of the central and eastern Cornbelt, heavier snow associated with ongoing lake effect snow across the Great Lakes, parts of the Northeast, and then heavy snows in parts of the central and interior Rockies here. But really the big story here as we look at the hazards map is that pink shading across portions of Southern California. We expect really dangerous fire weather conditions. Elsewhere, we do have dense fog in the central U.S., winter weather advisories, high wind warnings, and high wind watches across portions of the northern high plains into the upper Midwest. Also have winter weather advisories in place across the Northeast, and then also some dense fog continuing across portions of the Pacific Northwest down into the Central Valley. And then we've also got flood watches in effect starting to expand across the Gulf Coast. Looking at the severe weather risk today, again, not talking about a major severe weather risk today, just general thunderstorm outline there across parts of the south into the southeast, parts of the mid-south. We do introduce a marginal risk, that's level 1 out of 5 across portions of the Florida Panhandle, up into southern Mississippi, southern and western portions of Georgia on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, that risk shifts off to the east, just looking at a couple of thunderstorms, widespread rain from parts of the coastal Carolinas down into the Florida Peninsula. This is the fire weather outlook today and then the fire outlook tomorrow. So today we've got that critical area there across Southern California from LA down to the border there with Baja California, parts of Mexico. And we introduced that extremely critical level 3 risk as we get into the day on Tuesday. So a long-lasting risk here, a couple of days, and strongest risk or the highest potential for rapid spread of fires is going to be tomorrow. But we want to kind of up the awareness here starting today. So here's an infographic from the National Weather Service directly. Their extreme and life-threatening fire behavior expected today. Now this does continue down into the San Diego coverage area as well. I just happened to snap this one because I think it tells the story well. Again, high winds, low humidity, mild temperatures, dry conditions. Any fires that ignite will have the potential to spread rapidly with extreme fire behavior there. So this is up there with some of the higher risks that we see every year. This is in that 2, 3, 4 times a year level. So we just want to make sure we are very aware across these areas. We've got about 6 or 7 facilities here impacted by this as we talk about Nutrien Ag Solutions retail, specifically Oxnard, Anaheim. You're on the border there getting into the metropolitan area, but Paris, San Jacinto, Temecula, Fallbrook, down to San Marcos as well. Imperial, you're outside of the risk here, but still be aware there with the elevated fire risk in that area. Here's tomorrow's map. Again, north of LA, we're talking about that extremely critical fire weather potential. We'll see if this expands or changes any as we head into the day tomorrow. I'll give an update there as well. Now, quickly looking at the infrared satellite picture, multiple storm systems, multiple disturbances kind of making their way onto and off the screen. So we've got a wave here across portions of the mid-Atlantic. We've got another little subtle disturbance here coming in across the southern U.S. We have another disturbance making its way, and you see the swirl here across the Dakotas, parts of the upper Midwest. Another big area of low pressure here across the Pacific Ocean as well, with ridging across the western United States. And then again, we've got a frontal boundary and kind of some jet stream flow here along the Gulf Coast, kind of pumping that Gulf moisture northward over the next couple of days. The radar picture here on Monday morning, rain from the mid-Atlantic down along that frontal boundary toward the Gulf Coast, snow north of that across the Gulf Coast, the Great Lakes, and then patchy areas of snow across the northern high plains into the Rockies as well. As we animate this over the next couple of days, let me go ahead and bring this on back. We'll watch for the thunderstorm risk to continue to kind of train over the same areas. Look for this front to slowly make its way west to east, but we've got rounds of showers and storms kind of moving north along that front. So a couple of days of heavy rain potential there. Low risk for some severe weather. That's kind of the precipitation hotspot over the next couple of days. And as we get into Wednesday, we'll watch for this area of low pressure coming in from the northern plains to phase with that disturbance over the mid-Atlantic to give us a more robust area of precipitation expanding into the northeast through the day Wednesdays. This is what we wake up to Wednesday morning, rain lifting into the northeast, some snow coming in on the backside as cold air filters into the region. So the lake effect snow machine gets kicked up again midweek, and then we'll watch for snow to potentially spread in on the backside across portions of the northeast as well as we get toward a Wednesday into Thursday. Then on the backside of this, kind of the same pattern, just reloading here, where we were mild for a couple of days over the weekend. We get another front that sweeps through, and then we get that real cold Arctic air that's kind of riddled with flurries, kind of inconsequential snow there, making its way through the high plains into parts of the central Cornbelt. So we'll watch for some flurries here, maybe some minor snow accumulation from the Dakotas into the eastern Cornbelt over the next couple of days after this front sweeps through. Anything that does accumulate will be light and localized in nature. So just broadly, your next couple of days, this takes us through Wednesday evening. Total precipitation, you see the flurries, the snow to the north across parts of the Great Lakes, and then the red jumps out to you here across the southeast, anywhere from southern Louisiana through southern Mississippi, central and southern Alabama, northern and central portions of Georgia into the Carolinas. That's where we're talking about 1, 2, maybe 2 to 4 inches of rain in some localized areas there. The snow that falls, again, light in nature across the Dakotas into parts of the central and eastern Corn Belt, even here across parts of the I-states where you see nothing there. We could certainly see some flurries, especially Wednesday, maybe some snow showers that are able to quickly stack up a light coating, but the more significant snow accumulation is going to be found across the northeast, parts of the Great Lakes where we get that lake effect enhancement, down across the Appalachians, and then into the central and northern Rockies, some accumulations on some of the higher levels there as well. Now here's the picture. Again, weak disturbance over the mid-Atlantic, parts of the Ohio Valley, another weak disturbance here over the south, a more impactful trough diving in with ridging across the west. So let's animate this over the next couple of days. We watch that trough swing in. You can see that it is not just, I'm broadly calling it one trough, but there's a lot of pieces, embedded within this. Here's the area of low pressure over the Four Corners. It's kind of helping to create that Santa Ana wind event across Southern California. We get that pressure difference from the desert over toward the Southern California. We kind of look at the area between Las Vegas and Southern California here for that pressure disparity, which we certainly are seeing there, kind of a classic high-end event. This trough swings in. It's going to kick this disturbance off to the east. Looking for, again, kind of the lift in advance of this. This is what kind of leads to this is what leads to the robust area of rain and thunderstorms from the southern U.S. into the mid-Atlantic. A lot of lift here, fast jet stream winds, and a feed of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico sets the stage. You see that moisture here, precipitable water over the next couple of days as this disturbance dives in from the north. Again, fast jet stream flow. We get that surface response, southerly flow coming across the Gulf of Mexico, bringing that moisture northward. I have an area of low pressure here across the Great Lakes with that front. This is what's kind of, scouring the moisture once again. So along that front, we'll have the support for rain and thunderstorms. We'll look at the precipitation over the next couple of days with a wider view from the European model. Again, area of low pressure across the Great Lakes, front extending south from that. We get some extra support as the next supporting cast members, the next upper level disturbances kind of dive in here. Again, kicking off that wider area of rain that'll extend from the Gulf Coast up the mid-Atlantic toward the northeast as we get into Wednesday. Colder air coming in on the backside, cold again across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, with flurries once again across much of the Corn Belt. Talk briefly here about the severe weather risk across the southern U.S. We see that feed of moisture, that instability, plume most rich on Tuesday, midday Tuesday into Tuesday afternoon. You see that flow coming northward. The front will be moving in from west to east, interacting with that unstable environment. We get the lift from the upper level disturbance, and that creates the widespread area of showers and thunderstorms. So on the left, instability. Top right, we have the upper level winds. Bottom right, we have the lower level winds. You see the good alignment there. We had misalignment with some of our most recent disturbances. So good alignment here between instability and upper level wind support to kick off a couple of strong storms. The orientation here where you see the upper level winds and the lower level winds kind of in the same direction, that really makes me think, again, not so much in the way of a volatile high-end severe weather risk, but we're talking about a lot of thunderstorms that are going to be kind of training along this frontal boundary. My point being, this is more of a setup for heavy rainfall and some flooding versus, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. So look for locally heavy rainfall, some flooding across the Gulf Coast into the southeast today. Here's what that looks like today into tomorrow. Let me go ahead and time this out for you. This is Monday morning. This takes us through Monday afternoon, Monday evening, getting into the overnight, and then the more robust risk here is going to be Tuesday as that front gets set up. We get that feed of moisture, we get the upper level support. Look for a couple of strong storms, some locally heavy rainfall, maybe a corridor of more widespread rainfall here from southern Louisiana into northern Georgia. This region right here, be on the lookout for rainfall totals maybe on the higher end here, 3, 4, maybe some locally heavier amounts, and then that 1 to 3 inch range up through the mid-Atlantic into the northeast. This all gets out of here as we get into Wednesday evening. Here's your rainfall totals straight from the NAM. So again, it's gonna work out a little bit different than what we see here, but I think this has a good handle on that potential for 2 to 4 inches of rainfall, locally higher amounts, right in that zone from Louisiana, southern Louisiana into southern Mississippi, central and southern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle there into central and southern portions of Georgia. Now again, it was mild across the Cornbelt this weekend. Much colder air coming back in. We kind of reload the pattern here. 50s for the high today across the central and eastern Corn Belt. See the colder air kind of reloading. Teens for the highs tomorrow across parts of the upper Midwest. This is your high on Wednesday. We now see those highs below 0, single digits into the northern plains, the upper Midwest. Teens and 20s into Nebraska and Iowa, the central and eastern Corn Belt back to around upper 20s, lower 30s for your highs. We see that colder air expanding even more on Thursday. So bitterly cold Thursday across the Corn Belt. This will be the coldest day of the week. Those highs anywhere from below 0 across North Dakota to the teens and 20s on the warm end across the rest of the Corn Belt. 50s and 60s across the Gulf Coast. This front not going to make it all the way across the Gulf Coast here as we kind of reload with another disturbance across the south. So we see the warmth responding here Friday. Not going to see that cold air surge all the way down to the Gulf this week. Your overnight lows, quickly kind of flip through those. Lows tonight, Monday night, Tuesday morning. Here's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And then the cold air begins to retreat once again as we head into the weekend. Watch for additional storm systems kind of feeding into the area.